What if I told you everything you want, everything you dream of, everything you've ever wished for is waiting on the other side of one decision, not 10, not 20, one. But here's the truth that most people refuse to face. They will never make that decision. They will wake up tomorrow doing the same things, thinking the same thoughts, living the same life, and then they'll do it again the next day and the next until another year slips through their fingers, until they look in the mirror and wonder where the time went, until regret becomes their reality. Because here's the painful part. It's not life that's holding them back. It's them. It's their excuses, their fears, their addiction to comfort. They wait for the right moment, the perfect opportunity, the clear sign that never comes. But the ones who succeed, they don't wait. They don't ask for permission. They decide. Think about it. Every great success story, every legendary figure, every person who changed the world, they all had a moment of decision, a single defining moment where they drew a line in the sand and said, no more. I refuse to live this way. I will not settle. I will not waste another day. Oprah Winfrey was fired from her first TV job. She was told she wasn't fit for television. She could have accepted it. She could have believed them, but she didn't. She made a decision. She chose to keep going, to build something greater, to prove them wrong. And today she's one of the most influential people on the planet. Howard Schultz grew up in public housing. His parents struggled to pay the bills. He had every excuse to stay stuck, to live the same life his parents did, but he made a decision to break the cycle, to do something different, to take control. That decision led to Starbucks, $1 billion empire. Your story may be different, but the principle is the same. Right now, you are standing at a crossroads, two paths. One leads to the same old life, the same habits, the same struggles, the same frustrations. The other, it leads to something new, something greater. But the only way to walk that path is to choose it. Most people won't. Because choosing change is uncomfortable. It's scary. It means leaving behind what's familiar, even if what's familiar is destroying them. But here's what you need to understand. Discomfort is temporary. Regret is forever. The pain of discipline, that fades. The pain of failure, that fades. But the pain of knowing you could have been more, could have done more, but let another year slip by, that will eat you alive. So I'm asking you, will this be the year you take control? Will this be the moment you finally decide, or will you wake up tomorrow and let another day, another week, another year slip away? Because by the end of this, your mindset will never be the same. If you decide pain, the one thing we spend our entire lives trying to avoid, we numb it, run from it, hide it beneath distractions, yet it follows us. But what if I told you that pain isn't your enemy? What if I told you that pain is the very thing that could set you free? Think about the moments in your life that changed you the most, the moments that forced you to grow, to rise, to become stronger. Were they the easy moments? Were they the times when everything was comfortable? No, the defining moments of your life were the ones that hurt, the moments that knocked you down so hard you had no choice but to stand up stronger than before. Pain is a signal. It's life's way of telling you that something needs to change. It's a message, a wake-up call. But most people ignore it. They drown it in excuses. They blame the world, their circumstances, other people. But the ones who succeed, they listen. They take that pain and they use it. Michael Jordan was cut from his high school basketball team. Imagine that. One of the greatest athletes of all time was told he wasn't good enough. That kind of rejection could have broken him, could have made him quit. But instead, he used that pain. He trained harder. He became obsessed. He turned failure into fuel. Without that pain, he would have never become a legend. Oprah Winfrey was told she was unfit for television. She was fired. She could have believed it. She could have let that pain define her, but she didn't. She let it drive her. She made a decision to never let someone else's opinion control her destiny. And today, she's built an empire. You have a choice. You can let pain break you, or you can let it shape you. You can let it push you forward, or you can let it bury you. But here's the truth. Pain will come no matter what. There is no escaping it. The pain of growth, the pain of discipline, or the pain of regret. One is temporary, the other is permanent. If you've ever been heartbroken, you know the pain of losing someone you love, but did you let that pain destroy you, or did you use it to become wiser, stronger, more resilient? If you've ever failed at a business, a career, a goal, did you let that pain make you quit, or did you let it teach you? Pain is the fire that forges champions. It's the hammer that shapes greatness. It's the difference between those who live an extraordinary life and those who spend their days wishing they had. Because the truth is, every great story begins with struggle. Every hero is born from adversity. Every breakthrough starts with pain. So don't run from it. Don't hide from it. Use it. Feel it. Let it fuel you. Because pain isn't here to destroy you. It's here to transform you. Clarity is everything. Without it, it's walking blind. You might be moving, but you have no idea where you're going. And that's the biggest reason most people never reach their full potential. They don't lack intelligence. They don't lack ambition. They lack direction. Because if you don't know exactly what you want, how can you possibly get there? Most people live in a constant state of vagueness. They say they want success, but what does success actually look like for them? They say they want to be happy, but have they defined what happiness really means? They say they want to be rich, but have they determined how much is enough? Clarity isn't just about setting goals. It's about creating a compass for your life, a North Star that keeps you moving in the right direction, no matter what obstacles come your way. Take Michael Phelps. Before he ever won a gold medal, before he became one of the most decorated Olympians of all time, he had a vision so clear it was unshakable. His coach made him visualize every stroke, every turn, every finish. He didn't just train his body, he trained his mind. Every single night, he would mentally rehearse his perfect race. So when the moment came, there was no hesitation. He had already lived it 1,000 times in his mind. That's the power of clarity. But here's the flip side. Without clarity, you will chase everything and achieve nothing. You will waste years climbing a ladder only to realize it was leaning against the wrong wall. That's why so many people feel stuck. They work hard, they grind, they push themselves, yet something always feels missing. Because deep down, they never took the time to define what they were actually working toward. Think about a GPS. If you get in your car and just start driving with no destination in mind, where do you end up? Nowhere. But the second you enter a specific address, every turn becomes intentional. Every mile brings you closer. That's how you need to approach your life. Steve Jobs didn't randomly stumble into success. He had absolute clarity about what Apple was going to be. He saw it before anyone else did. He didn't just want to build computers, he wanted to revolutionize the way people interact with technology. That level of clarity is what made Apple one of the most valuable companies in history. So ask yourself, what is your vision? Not just what you think you want, but what you're obsessed with creating. If you can't answer that question with absolute certainty, that's where you start. Because clarity isn't just power, it's freedom. It eliminates distractions, it keeps you focused, it turns wishes into reality. If you don't decide what you want, the world will decide for you. And I promise you, it won't be in your favor. So define it, see it, lock onto it like your life depends on it, because in many ways it does. Your standards define your life, not your goals, not your dreams, not even your effort, your standards. Because here's the truth. You don't get what you wish for. You don't even get what you work for. You get what you demand of yourself. Most people hope for success. They say things like, I want to be in great shape, or I want to make more money, or I want a better relationship. But wanting something isn't enough. What's your standard? Is your standard to work out 3 times a week no matter what? Is your standard to refuse to accept anything less than financial freedom? Is your standard to never tolerate toxic relationships? Because when something becomes a standard, it's no longer a hope, it's a must. Think about someone like Kobe Bryant. What separated him from everyone else? His standards. He wasn't just a great player because of talent. He set a standard for himself that no one else was willing to match. He was in the gym at 4 a.m. while his competitors were still asleep. He would practice for hours after winning a game while others were celebrating. He refused to accept mediocrity, and that's why he became a legend. Your life right now is a reflection of the standards you've set. If you're not where you want to be, it's because you've been willing to tolerate less. If you're stuck in a job you hate, it's because deep down you've accepted that as your reality. If you're out of shape, it's because you've allowed yourself to skip workouts and eat poorly. If your relationships are draining, it's because you've accepted behavior that you shouldn't. Look at any successful person and you will see they do not tolerate what the average person tolerates. Jeff Bezos had a standard for excellence at Amazon. If a project wasn't world class, it was scrapped. Elon Musk doesn't set a goal to build the best technology. He sets a standard that forces innovation beyond what people think is possible. Oprah Winfrey didn't just want to be successful. She refused to settle for anything less than greatness. Your standards determine the bare minimum you accept in every area of life. If you raise that, everything changes. Because once your standard shifts, your actions automatically follow. If you set a standard that you will never allow yourself to be financially broke again, you will find ways to make money. If you decide you will never let your health decline, you will find a way to stay fit. If you refuse to tolerate toxic people, you will remove them from your life. So ask yourself, what are you currently tolerating that's holding you back? What have you accepted that is keeping you from your true potential? The moment you decide this is no longer acceptable in my life, you set a new standard. And that decision, that's the turning point, because the second you stop lowering your standards to fit your life will rise to meet your standards. That's how you take control. Perfection is the enemy of progress. Most people don't fail because they lack talent, intelligence, or opportunity. They fail because they never start. They wait, they overthink, they tell themselves they're not ready yet, and before they know it, years have passed, and they're still standing in the exact same place, not because they couldn't do it, because they never took action. Think about how many dreams have died because someone was waiting for the perfect time. How many businesses were never built, how many books were never written, how many opportunities were missed, all because someone was too afraid to start before everything was just right. But here's the truth, there is no perfect time. There never will be. You will never feel fully prepared, and if you wait until you do, you'll be waiting forever. Jeff Bezos didn't wait until he had everything figured out before launching Amazon. He started with a vision, an idea, and he moved. Was his first website perfect? No. Was his business plan flawless? No. But he understood something most people don't. You learn by doing. The first step is never perfect. The first attempt is rarely great, but without it, there is no second attempt, no growth, no success. Look at Thomas Edison. He didn't invent the light bulb in one perfect attempt. He failed over 1,000 times. Can you imagine if he had waited for the perfect conditions before starting? We might still be sitting in the dark. His success wasn't built on perfection. It was built on relentless action. Perfectionism is just another form of fear. It's disguised as high standards, but really it's just the fear of failure, the fear of judgment, the fear of not being good enough. But here's what separates the successful from the stuck. They act in spite of fear. They take the first step, even when it's messy. They move forward, even when they don't have all the answers. They understand that imperfect action is always better than perfect hesitation. Think about a child learning to walk. Do they analyze every step before they try? Do they sit there and say, I need to make sure my balance is perfect before I take my first step? No, they try, they fall, they get back up. And that's exactly why they succeed. So ask yourself, what have you been delaying because you're waiting for the right time? What dream, what goal, what decision have you put on hold because you don't feel ready yet? The truth is, you'll never feel ready. And that's exactly why you need to start now. Messy action beats perfect inaction every single time. The people who change the world aren't the ones who had everything figured out. They're the ones who started before they were ready. So stop waiting, stop hesitating, take the leap, because movement creates momentum, and momentum changes everything. Perfection isn't the goal, progress is. And the only way to make progress is to take action right now. Your identity is the thermostat of your life. No matter how hard you try, no matter what strategies you use, you will always return to the level of success, happiness, and fulfillment that aligns with who you believe you are. If you see yourself as an average person, you will act accordingly. If you see yourself as someone who struggles, someone who never wins, someone who isn't worthy of success, that belief will shape every decision you make. But the moment you change your identity, you change your life. Look at the most successful people in the world. They didn't just achieve great things, they became the type of person who attracts success. Muhammad Ali didn't just win championships because he trained hard. He trained hard because he believed he was the greatest before he ever stepped into the ring. He told himself, I am the greatest, not because he was arrogant, but because he understood something powerful. Your identity drives your actions. The way you see yourself determines how you show up in the world. Most people try to change their life from the outside in. They focus on their habits, their routines, their environment, and while those things matter, they are only surface level. True, lasting transformation happens when you change how you see yourself at your core. If you tell yourself, I'm just not a disciplined person, you'll never stick to a routine. If you tell yourself, I'm not a leader, you'll hesitate every time an opportunity to step up presents itself. But the second you shift your identity, everything else follows. Look at someone who quit smoking. If they simply say, I'm trying to quit, they are still identifying as a smoker. They are in a battle with themselves. But if they say, I am not a smoker, they are no longer struggling. They have become someone who doesn't smoke. Their actions naturally align with their new identity. That is the difference between temporary change and permanent transformation. Think about the person you want to be. The version of you who has already achieved everything you desire. What does that person believe about themselves? How do they think? How do they act? Because if you don't shift your identity to match that vision, you will always sabotage yourself. You will always find a way to go back to what is familiar. This is why people who win the lottery often end up broke again. Their bank account changed, but their identity did not. They still saw themselves as someone who struggles with money, so their subconscious found a way to bring them back to that reality. If you want to break free from where you are, start by changing your language. Stop saying I'm trying. Stop saying I hope. Start saying I am. Say it before you believe it. Say it until your mind has no choice but to accept it. Because once you change who you are at your core, your actions will follow effortlessly. And when that happens, success isn't something you chase, it's something you naturally attract. Your environment is shaping you whether you realize it or not. The people around you are either fueling your growth or draining your potential. There is no in between. And if you're serious about changing your life, you have to make one of the hardest but most necessary decisions: cutting out the wrong people. Most people stay stuck not because they lack ability, but because they are surrounded by those who keep them small. You could have the biggest dreams in the world, but if your circle is filled with people who think small, who settle, who make excuses, sooner or later you will become like them. That's not opinion, that's psychology. Studies show that we become the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with. Their beliefs, their habits, their standards, they rub off on us. Think about it. If you spend every day around people who complain, who make excuses, who never take risks, how long before you start thinking the same way? How long before their mindset becomes yours? On the other hand, if you surround yourself with winners, with risk takers, with people who challenge you to be better, you start leveling up without even trying. That's the power of association. Steve Jobs was known for being ruthless about who he allowed into his inner circle. He didn't just hire people with talent, he hired those who matched his vision, his drive, his obsession with greatness. If someone wasn't on the same level, if they didn't challenge him, if they slowed down progress, they were gone. That wasn't arrogance. That was the understanding that your success depends on who you surround yourself with. Now, let's talk about the hard part. Some of the people holding you back might be the ones closest to you, friends, even family. Cutting them out doesn't mean you don't love them. It doesn't mean you're better than them. It means you are choosing your future over your comfort. Because here's the truth. Some people are meant to be in your past, not your future. If someone in your life constantly brings negativity, doubts your dreams, mocks your ambitions, or drains your energy, ask yourself, why are you keeping them around? Out of guilt? Out of habit? Out of fear of being alone? Because none of those reasons are worth sacrificing your future. Kobe Bryant had an obsessive work ethic. He was in the gym at 4 a.m. when others were sleeping. Do you think he spent time with people who lacked discipline? No. He surrounded himself with people who understood his mission. He knew that greatness requires sacrificing comfort, including relationships that don't serve you. So take a hard look at your circle. Who challenges you? Who pushes you forward? Who supports your growth? And who holds you back? Because every day you spend surrounded by the wrong people is a day you are delaying your success. Cut them out. Protect your energy. Surround yourself with those who push you to become unstoppable. Success doesn't come from massive leaps. It comes from small, consistent improvements compounded over time. The problem is most people chase the overnight breakthrough. They want instant results, immediate transformation, the big win, but they ignore the power of daily progress. That's why they stay stuck. They think if they can't change everything at once, it's not worth trying. But the truth, if you commit to improving by just 1% every day, in a year, you won't be 365% better. You'll be 37 times better than you are today. Think about an airplane taking off. If the pilot adjusts the nose of the plane by just a couple of degrees, it might not seem like much, but over the course of the flight, that tiny shift completely changes the destination. That's how success works. Tiny improvements, small shifts in discipline, micro habits. They add up in ways you can't even imagine. Look at the best athletes in the world. They don't win championships because they train twice as hard as everyone else. They win because they make small, calculated improvements every single day. When Michael Jordan missed a shot, he didn't just practice random drills. He studied the exact movement that caused the miss and made a tiny adjustment. Over time, those micro adjustments made him one of the greatest players in history. The same principle applies everywhere. If you want to be healthier, you don't need to transform your entire diet overnight. Just cut out one bad habit, switch soda for water, walk for 10 minutes a day, add an extra hour of sleep. If you want to grow financially, don't wait until you can save thousands. Start by saving a small percentage of every paycheck. If you want to master a skill, don't overwhelm yourself with hours of training. Just commit to improving slightly every day. The problem is most people quit because they don't see immediate results. They go to the gym for a week, see no difference and stop. They start a new habit, don't feel the change right away and give up. But success isn't about what you do once in a while. It's about what you do consistently. A 1% improvement might feel small today, but over time, it creates unstoppable momentum. James Clear, author of Atomic Habits, explains that if you get 1% better every day, those small improvements compound into extraordinary transformation. The key is patience. The key is consistency. Look at Warren Buffett. His wealth didn't come from one brilliant investment. It came from decades of smart, consistent decisions that compounded over time. So ask yourself, what is one small habit you can improve today? Not a massive life overhaul, not a dramatic change, just one thing. Because if you commit to that, if you embrace the power of the 1% rule, you will look back a year from now and realize you are completely unrecognizable from the person you are today. Tiny changes create massive impact. Master the 1% rule, and you master the game of life. There is one moment that changes everything. 1 second in time where something inside of you snaps and you say enough is enough. That moment isn't planned. It isn't comfortable, but when it happens, everything shifts. And if you've ever met someone who completely transformed their life, someone who went from struggling to unstoppable, you can trace it back to one decision. The decision to stop making excuses, to stop waiting, to stop living the same year over and over again. The decision to take control. Most people think change takes time, that it's a slow, gradual process. But that's not true. Change happens in an instant. It happens the moment you finally get sick of your own limitations, sick of your own excuses, sick of playing small. That moment when the pain of staying the same becomes greater than the pain of changing, that's the moment your entire life shifts. Because from that second on, your mind is no longer debating. It's no longer hesitating. You are all in. Look at any great success story, and you will find that defining moment. Sylvester Stallone was broke, had no money to feed his family, and was rejected by every Hollywood studio. But when he wrote Rocky, he was offered money on one condition. They wanted to buy the script, but they didn't want him to star in it. He was desperate. He needed the money. But at that moment, he made a decision. He would not sell unless he got the role. Everyone told him he was insane. He turned down the money. But because of that decision, he held his ground, and eventually he got the role. Rocky became a massive success, launching a career that would have never existed if he had settled. Howard Schultz, the man behind Starbucks, was rejected 242 times when he pitched his vision of a coffee empire. Most people would have quit. But there was a moment when he decided failure was not an option, and that one decision changed everything. What about your life? What have you been putting off? What dream have you been waiting for the right time to pursue? The truth is, there is no right time. There is no perfect moment. The only thing that separates those who win from those who don't is this. At some point, they stopped waiting and decided. They decided to go all in. No more half efforts. No more second guessing. Right now, you are at a crossroads. You can keep doing what you've been doing, keep waiting, keep hesitating, Or you can decide right now that this is your moment, that this is the year everything changes, that you will not let another day slip by without taking massive action toward the life you want. Because the second you decide, truly decide, everything starts moving in your favor. Your mind shifts, your energy changes, and the path that once seemed impossible starts unfolding before you. But it all starts with one thing, one choice, one commitment. Decide right now, because this is the moment that changes everything.